to be a link in the chat. All right, thank you. So there's a link in the chat. Just click on that link, and it will lead you to the site for the game. So the game is unscrabble words and fastest finger. Actually, the rule of the game, you would visit the link. There are 10 words in the game. Each round lasts 15 seconds. Unscrabble the words before the timer goes off. So fastest finger again. Yeah, so Betty, over to you here.
Okay, can you see my screen?
Please join the game. Yes, I can.
Okay, so we have about 10 people so far. Are there more people joining?
We are more than 10 on this call, so we need more people to join. We're 41, so 10 is a small number. Please let's join. When we have 20, we'll kick off. Please, let's have 20. The link is in the chat. Elizabeth, you want to win?
People is saying that it's full, something like that. Like, Betty, do you want to check? Is there a
Betty, can you check?
I'm not sure why that's happening. We can just start. Okay, so I don't know why it's not taking more than 10 people. I guess we'll just have to proceed with the 10 so we don't spend too much time on this. So I'm starting now.
So what you can also drop it in the chat what you think the words are, since we're not able to accommodate more than 10. So if you know the word, just drop it in the chat. It makes the game more fun. Oh, we'll send it to you. Don't worry. We'll send it to you. We'll count the numbers. Okay, we have some answers in the chat. I see you guys. They got it though. Okay, what's this? Okay, I see people in the chat. People in the chat they are getting this. Antonio is leading. Okay. I'm not seeing anything in the chat. You guys don't know this one. Okay.
This one is long. Does anybody get this one?
It's still Antonio. Oh, Elizabeth, sorry about that. You guys know this one. All right.
Still Antonio at number 1.
I'm very bad at this game. There's no way I'll be top.
around 8.
This is hard.
Is it?
Still Antonio. I know this one. People are giving up. Why, you guys? Atimile, how did you let your governor take over you? Okay, this one is simple.
Yay.
Ooh, Antonio is the winner, followed by Just Covenant and Timile. Wow, you guys tried. I would not have gotten anywhere with this game. I'm very terrible at it.
All right. Well done, guys.
Okay, thank you guys. Thank you for playing. Thank you. Now back to the main thing, the reason why we're here today. We are going back to the base, and we have with us our speaker for today. We have with us Saviour Mba, who would be taking us through the basics. We're going back to where we started from, and we're touching on Fintech 101, the fundamentals of building Fintech products in Africa. And we have with us Saviour, who is a Fintech product manager, and he currently works at United Capital. Before then, he has led product at Sycamore. Last year, 2025, he won the Fintech Product Manager of the Year awards at Product Dive. So you know that you're in good hands, and I can't wait for him to share all the basics, the fundamentals for us today. So thank you, Saviour, for joining us. We're so glad to have you. And right about now, I'll be handing over to you. You have the floor.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. Thank you, Abasade. Okay, let me turn my camera for a bit. Okay, can everyone see me? Okay, awesome.
Yes, I can.
Okay, awesome. Thank you, Abasade. Thank you, Elizabeth. Thank you, Betsy, for the opportunity to do this largely. And super glad to be here and to talk about products, fintech, and the amazing things in between. So again, thank you, Treford and the Builders in Fintech community for this opportunity. So I'm just going to share my screen. I said I can do that, right? Sorry?
Yes, please go ahead.
Okay, awesome. Can you see my screen, please?
Yes, I can. I can see your screen.
Okay. All right. Okay, so first we're talking about Fintech 101, the fundamentals of building fintech products in Nigeria. Let me close this right here.
Also, I don't
Sorry, you're unmuted.
I think we take cinematic pictures in church. There's nothing like cinematic pictures. I don't think we take good pictures in church.
Please mute your mic.
Caleb, can you please mute?
Okay, awesome. So we're talking about the fundamentals of building fintech products in Africa, and that will be the bedrock of everything we're going to talk about today. But a little intro about myself. My name is Saviour Mba. I'm a fintech product manager. I'm doing things across the growth, data, and of course the new thing in town, AI. And besides just building fintech products, I'm more particularly interested in investing and when I say investing, I'm more attracted to the capital markets and then securities, asset management for fund management as well. And that's why I currently do at United Capital, helping build that workflow all around. Of course, had previous experiences in lending, investments as well, payments, and just the little touch points around fintech products. And I hope that today we can somewhat, bring that explanation as to how to build fintech products and everything around that. Please, my video is distracting me. I might turn it off for a bit, so sorry, but I'll turn it back on intermittently when I'm in flow state.
It's fine, it's all right.
Yeah. Okay, awesome. Yeah, I'm not gonna be more comfortable. Okay, so where we are right now, the fintech ecosystem in Africa largely is a $1.4 billion dollar ecosystem, and this is at 2024, right? This is the 2024 reading. Now imagine what that looks like today, right now, with the emergence of more startups. There are over 430 startups currently in Africa. That was the report from last year. Now imagine how that could have probably doubled at this point, 2026. That's an impressive look, and somewhat more validation to say that we're doing something correct in this ecosystem. We're about 72% for equity funding, and in Africa we're the first. Following that with Kenya and all of that, the countries around that. But this is just enough validation to say that the fintech ecosystem, the fintech space, is one that is very attractive. Of course, when you hear fintech, you think money, you think, well, I'm going to be a big boy and all of that good stuff around that. And that's completely fine. If the reason why you want to come into fintech is to make money, that's completely fine. If it's to make impact, that's completely fine. Anything that sits well for you. But what really matters at the end of the day is, are you building something valuable from it? Are you doing something valuable from it? At the end of this session, one of the very few things that I want you to walk away from this, and I know it's Fintech 101, the fundamentals of Fintech, and we'll largely just talk around building Fintech firsthand. One of the very few things that I want each and every one of us to take out of is, what it is to start the fundamentals. I have a colleague who says something, and sometimes when maybe I'm talking to my senior colleagues in the capital markets and fund managers, and you're trying to ask them about, this equity, how do we go around it, this stock that's selling, will it dip, will it fall? And he will say something along the lines of, you can't really ask people this kind of questions, because a lot of times they have been an expert for so long, they've forgotten what it means to be a beginner. And respectfully so, that's the truth. Oftentimes, as product people, as product managers, when you've developed something called the product sense, you will tend to have an interesting bias towards things. You just see things from a different point of view. So for those of us who have been in the ecosystem for a while, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 6, 10 years, this will just be like an awakening call, and just to make us recognize why we do this all together. And for those of us who are new to the market, who are new to the fintech ecosystem, this will also help us build that fundamental as to what it takes to build a fintech product. And not any fintech product is successful fintech product, because you don't want to build a product that goes to market and nobody is going to use it. There's nothing as painful like that. You don't want to build a product that goes to the market and it doesn't meet users' needs, and then you've spent money, you try to raise funds, you've spoken with family and friends to build that product, and now nobody's using that, right? If you miss some of these fundamentals, sadly, you might find yourself in that bit. And gracefully so, Trefford and Builders in Fintech have brought this webinar and this masterclass to remind us of the fundamentals and help you build right and help you build strongly enough so that you don't do the wrong things anymore. So again, I just had to set that benchmark so that as we go on to the session, we understand why we're doing most of these things that we're doing. So how we got here and how the fintech ecosystem has been built. I think a lot of times we take access for a joke and for a play, right? So let me just turn back my camera again. Okay. Maybe I'll leave that for a bit. So we take access for a joke. I was telling my friend the other time, I'm like, when you send somebody 10,000 naira, 20,000 naira, you don't realize how much big of a deal giving someone 20,000 naira is. I mean, for some of us here who might be super rich people, that might not mean anything to you, but in real terms, when you hold cash, 20,000 naira, That's a lot of money to give to somebody. But today we have, mobile phones, we have web apps that allow us significantly just move this money electronically, and you don't even know how big of that money is, because literally it's just numbers, right? Same applies to building in the financial technology space. One of the very few things that happens is we've gotten so used to fast transfers, we've gotten so used to opening your bank app and your balance just shows immediately. We've gotten so used to okay fast transfers, to be honest, and you get the money instantaneously, that we've lost track of where we came from. And that's a good thing, believe me. It's a good thing that progress is being made here. But I just want to just relay this with like awakening again and just show us where we're coming from, right? Back in the days, and I'm taking it back to the early 90s and like the late 90s, if you wanted to make a transfer, what that would require for you is that you would go to the bank, right? You would walk into your bank, say GT Bank or UBA, and ask them you'd get a teller, and then you write the banking details, the person you want to send it to, the recipient, the amount, and all of that interesting stuff. And then you give it to the cashier, and then you leave. Now, that money doesn't just move instantly, right? Because, of course, we've all been there. It doesn't move instantly. You have to wait like a day or two to see that for the recipient to confirm, oh, I got the funds. And if you were a student at the time, you would realize how painful it is, how your parents have told you, oh, I've sent the money, but you are still like soaking Gary in between. And it's somewhat painful around that bit of things, right? To wait upon that funds. Now, when that money has moved, that's the front end we see. That's one of the very bits that we see and we overlook. What happens behind the scenes, again, a recall, is that Bank A and Bank B. So let's say I was sending the money to, say, my GT Bank account from my UBA. Both, parties would go physically, like they would go physically to NIBS and go reconcile this transaction and then make the transactions and then wait for settlement to come in at different hours and times. That has largely changed. Nobody has that time really now to go physically to the bank to make these transfers. Nobody is going to do that anymore. A lot of times is now much faster. So we've forgotten that bit of things, and gracefully so I'm happy about that, because I don't want to wait that long. And during the course of explaining this here, I spoke about needs, I spoke about settlement, and I will talk about around that much later into the session. But again, that's where we are coming from. Starting off first, I just spoke about the cash check era, and that's what the phase one I was also referencing to here largely, where we had to manually physically go to the banks, submit this cash, submit these checks for you to be credited to the third party you're trying to send it to. And when you do that, you have to wait 2 more days, because your bank literally has to go in person to, needs to go submit these inflows and these outflows and then reconcile them so they can do the clearing, and then settlements will come in much later. That was the era we're in 2010. But something significantly happened in 2011. And this was an awakening that happened across different banks. Banks were not largely happy around the fact that I can't credit my customers in real time. It takes them time before they see their money, and this is causing us in a lot of backlogs and somewhat embarrassing for us. What do we do about this? And that's where a group of banks came together and said, let's build something. And from that, something they came together to solve this problem was what Better NIBS. NIBS stands for Nigeria Interbank Settlement System. Again, my apologies, I didn't get to write all of these things down. I literally just changed my slides this morning, right? But nonetheless, I would try to explain it as pretty much as possible. And if you have questions, you can ask at the end. So these banks who had faced this frustration realized that it wasn't possible for us to make these transfers in real time, and how do we largely solve it? And they all came together in person and said, let us develop something by the backing of the CBN. And that innovation, that coalition that happened was what bettered NIBS, Nigerian Interbank Settlement System, and later forming NIP, which is instant payment. What this means, right, was that in that physical time, and when I started the session, I mentioned that your bank would have to go in person to go and submit this to NIBS. By the virtue of introducing instant payments, what that meant was your bank did not need to do that anymore. Electronically through APIs, this was largely filled for you, right? So when NIBS and NIP came into play, instant transfer was bettered, right? And that on that premise is what every fintech rides upon today. Fintech largely is respected because of speed, because of the execution, because of how fast it is to make transactions, how fast it is for you to receive transactions. But fundamentally, this decision and fundamentally this happened because of the certain banks who came together with the banking of the CBN to come about NIPS, NIP, right? That's NIP, NIPS instant payments, and this largely happened. This was very, very interesting. We had seen that happen largely around 2011 and 2014 as well, was the introduction of the new bank account. So that's your bank account number. If you count your bank account number today, it's 10 digits. This was a way to form uniformity in the organization, in the ecosystem. Banks operated in silos a lot of times. Of course, they were regulated by the CBN, but reforms and recapitalizations like this had not largely existed, right? Banks were acting in silos, and because of this betting and because of the CBN regulations coming in play, we saw things like the new bank accounts. Before then, your 10-digit account number would vary between 12 to 13, 11 to 13, and this was varying across different banks. So the number that your GT Bank was giving you was different from the one that Access Bank was giving you. But this uniformity better that in 2011, and then come in 2014 as well, was when we had BVN, right? And BVN is fundamentally one of the very few things that is the best and one of the easiest identification system for individuals and in Nigeria, right? So all of course here are familiar with BVNs, right? When you go to onboard on your OPay app or your fintech app as well, or your bank app, they always ask you for your BVNs. Before then, 2014, that didn't exist, right? There was a lot of different ways. Nobody could tell who was who. What could happen anywhere. I couldn't tell it who was making that fraud system happen, right? But by the introduction of BVN in 2014, that largely changed. Today, I think around 67 million of Nigerians have BVNs, from zero at the time to now. That is a significant growth. At the same time as well, 2014 came the cashless policy. All of these fundamental things that had shaped how fintech largely ran in Nigeria. And now came 2015 to 2020, the startup wave, right, where we had seen the emergence of the big boys, of the big players that we reckon with today: Paystack, Flutterwave, MoneyPoint. All the likes of them came around this time, right? What this means was they were going to bet off the new ecosystem that we ride upon today. The CBN, the coalition of the different banks who came to form the NIPS instant payments, we're doing something fundamentally good, but at the same time, execution and speed was not as fast as we thought it would, as fast as we wanted it to be. Then fintechs, financial technology companies, operators came and thought, what can we largely do to resolve this largely? What can we come together to see how payments can be a lot more facilitated? And that's when, fintech started emerging in 2015, 2020, around this time. Paystack had formed in 2015, I believe. Flutterwave had formed in 2016, I believe, as well. And, there were payment gateways at the time. So payment gateways think of them as your checkouts, right? So let's say physically when you go to a supermarket, say you go to Ebano or Spar, what happens is you see the cashier at the door. The cashier at the door will say, okay, how much do you want to pay? These are the items you bought. Okay, now pay in cash, pay in transfer. You can't translate a cashier at the store electronically, right? At least not now. Maybe AI would do that for us eventually, but you can't do that at the time. So what did Paystack and Flutterwave come about to do around this time? Specifically in 2015 and 2016 was when they came around and they said, let us develop checkout models that would enable individuals buy and shop things online without having to depend on bank transfers fee and all of that. And that's when they came and sorted out the payments gateway. That's where your Paystack Titan, when you open your child deck today and you can click on pay with transfer, that whole widget that shows was from the emergence of this solution that was bettered off from that. Later on, in 2002 as well, was InterSwitch. InterSwitch had come and realized card was a big deal in Nigeria, right? Most of us today no longer as much as possible use MasterCards, right? We have now dominated the ecosystem with cards like Verve, Afrigo, local cards. This did not really exist at the time because cards is a very, very expensive business. And I hope at some point I can talk about that during the course of the session. Cards is a very, very expensive business. So InterSwitch was going to solve this gap. I'm just trying to let us know the different times that individuals had the awakening. The awakening solely was 2015, 2020 to resolve these issues for us, try to ensure that things change. Agency banking took off. At the time, you had to go to, if you wanted to withdraw, you'd have to go to an ATM to go withdraw. I personally don't recall the last time I went to an ATM, right? The best I do is go to a POS, the woman around me, and, withdraw, and I'm out of the place and I go back. Agency banking had kicked off. Lending at the same time had kicked off as well. Had apps like, Carbon, Pay Later, Fair Money, Emerge, and resolve all of that thing. And something significantly happened in 2019. I'll try to wrap up this bit now. Something significantly happened in 2019. And, okay, just to be clear, is everyone here? Can everyone hear me? Maybe like a thumbs up, so I know that I'm sharing as well.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah, I can hear you.
All right, awesome. Something significantly happened in 2019 in the fintech ecosystem. Maybe I just do that by trying to share the comments. Can anyone tell me what happened? Hints funding, Hints Paystack. Okay, yeah, right, but that's not the one I'm actually talking about now. Paystack, well, I've cut the chase. Paystack got funded, Paystack got acquired. Remote payment as well, yeah. But I'm particularly trying it. So Paystack got acquired by Stripe. That was the Stripe deal, the biggest deal ever that ever happened in the ecosystem. Super, super big deal. Every news circulation was carrying it. Possibilities that we didn't know could exist was happening in our faces. Fintech was getting at its boom, was globally recognized. Stripe, the US global payments coming to Nigeria to acquire, Paystack was a big deal. And that's when, everybody came and realized, oh, okay, forget about this guys in 2019. Then there's something right here, right? There's something that we can also play in. And then we had the big boys coming as well. OPay had come in, then venture capitalists started coming back into Nigeria and saying, okay, for our Stripe to come into Nigeria and found Paystack, then there's money here and there's fruit in this land, as the Bible says it. Right, so they had done the funding was going well, the global fintech was popping, everybody was cashing out. You would open Tech Cover, you would see $10 million, $5 million, $1 million. It was the deal. Like it was super interesting, right? And that wave and that ecosystem was super, super interesting to see at the same time. And then came 2026 that we are in today, or rather we are in today. And we're still riding off of that premise of the fundamentals, right? Again, there were sort of banks that come together, try to resolve payments in Nigeria because it was largely slow. Now that fundamental thing that they had run still exists for us today. The NIP, the NIPS instant payment, is what ensures that all of us can still make fast transfers today. And at the bedrock of that, we still have more operations running. We have the open banking still in play. And I'll talk about that much later as well. We have AI now. We have people like Sarah, right? Sarah AI, where you can make transfers with your WhatsApp on WhatsApp. I mean, innovation just sparking around the clock. And still around that, we still have, fraud being a lot more smart and, more deceiving now. But nonetheless, we will talk about that. Yeah, Sarah, exactly. Talk about that right now. So again, I just want to lay that foundation so that we understand where we're coming from. Just a bit of a joke. Every year, the Nigerian FinTech map, and it's started by Anchor. Yeah, there's a whole website about it. You can check that out. What they do is they add to the books of new fintech that have emerged. So currently, this is what the outlook looks for 2025. By the end of the year, or at least at most the beginning of next year, 2026, I'm 100% sure this thing would 2x, right? It would 2x. So we have, fintechs here and this particular place. What they do on infra, business as a service, what they do is help you resolve the identity. We have Doja, we have Verify Me. They're the guys that help you with your KYC and your KYB, your customer realization as well. We have the payments processing. These are the guys like Cellulant, Paystack, Flutterwave, Remita that help you manage your payments much better. We have wallets, super apps. At the same time, you can go to your bank app and have a wallet. It can help you do that transfer at the same time as well. Crowdfunding. A lot of them really crypto. Yes, I'll talk about crypto as well. We have lending. We have Sycamore here as well. The big boys. Everyone seated right here. Our operators in the fintech markets. the fintech is so big, the market is so big, it's so spread around that different players are across different positions, right? And then we have personal finance, we have Carrywise, we have Piggyvest, the renowned names that we know of today. So this is what the fintech map looks like right now. Recall that this all started in 2011. Let me see if I can get that back up again. In 2011, when the emergence, and 2015 as well, when the emergence of fintechs have come around. But look at where we are today, and I'm 100% sure. So a lot of companies are still not here. I enjoy the, I won't say the backlash or something, but like, sometime when they had come out, some companies are not happy that they're not on the list, but it's a journey, and we'll still get them nonetheless. Right. So now, to properly explaining fintech in its bits, we have talked about the fundamentals, how we had arrived here. This is an overview of what it requires to be a fintech, right? When people say fintech, they think I should just go and have a CTO, have an engineer, have a backend engineer, have a front-end engineer, and just write codes largely and just ship something out. I think that's where it ends, but not at all. It's not. The real deal ensures and is covered in regulation. Something I want to mention here, regulation is a big deal in Nigeria. The CBN is not playing, Cardoso is not playing with you. He wants to ensure that you're highly regulated. And that's how we've seen, recapitalizations firms come out much more interestingly every year and year. Because I operate in the capital markets, and they had said that for every fund manager, right, you need to have 10% of your annual earnings, with SEC. Now, imagine SEC coming to tell you you should have 10% of earnings with them. For companies that run up to 10 billion, a lot of monies, how would you go begin to find, money around to play around? So these, licenses, these costs are not around, they're not developed so that you can just go and begin to play around. They're just a way of ensuring that you don't mess around, quite frankly. They're just a way of ensuring that you don't mess around. For one, some of these licenses here, they are like escrows. They don't actually like keep it and go, and CBN does not keep your money and go and spend it, right? They actually like hold it for you to hold you accountable. So in case maybe you want to misbehave and people lose your money, you could sell off that bit and try to recoup your funds for you. So back into this, right? We have first the switching license. Everybody says this is the sweetest license. Everybody says, because once you are a switch, you can operate in several markets, and once you're a switch, you can operate in the heart of payments. And I'll talk about that in the next slide rather. When you're switching up, put on the heart of payments, particular switches that we have today are inter-switch. That's the intermediary between, banks who are doing inflows and outflows. So a switch is the intermediary between the bank, between two bodies, the inflows and the outflows. So we have inter-switch being on the front tier players in that market. Also, we have Money Point. Money Point actually has a switch, and I would explain that again more properly in the next slide. Money Point does has a switch. Paystack as well has a switch at the same time altogether. And the minimum capital required is 2 billion. Of course, it's going to be given back to you much later as well, but so that CBN knows that you're actually serious and this is serious business for you, you have to go bring 2 billion. The mobile money operators, bill payments, offer wallets, P2P transfers, for you to do this, for it to be an OPay, for it to be a PAMPay, for it to be a Paga, you need to have 2 billion as well. That's not small money. That is real money, For you to have 2 billion sitting in your account, of course, not sitting in your account, but for you to have 2 billion worth of assets or worth of relationship, because of course you'll do things like maybe getting a loan, asking family and friends, then you are not obviously a poor person, right? So why would you want to give people more largely when you can just use that money and just enjoy your life, right? So this 2 billion is one of the very things that's needed. The PSSP is for payment processing. This is where I'd mentioned the gateways like Paystack checkout now that helps you make payments. That Paystack Titan page you see, right? For Paystack to operate, Paystack has to first get the PSSP license, and they had gotten it in 2015 for 100 million. Notice at the time to get 100 million, that's not a joke. So these regulators, the CBN is not joking about that. They want to know that you're actually a license and that you can make in payments rightfully. PTS fee, this is global. This is given to POS terminals, right? Now, if you look largely, just maybe at your free time, just go to a woman who is selling, or anybody, a man or woman who has a POS, and just look around. You'll see the name of the POS attached to it. It's going to be Global Accelerex. Global Accelerex office is in Ikeja, right? And interestingly, I go there. I used to go there at the time. Interestingly, where I was working at the PTSP to help, recoup and get more POS terminals and distribute to other businesses. So you can even check them out. You can check them out in Ikeja, GRA. So if in case you are here and you want to build a PTSP, you want to build like a POS terminal, have POS terminals issued out to businesses. That's some business for you to go do, right? So and it costs around 100 million to do that. We have payment service banks, the Momo, the PSBs. I can't talk about this as much as possible. It costs around 5 billion, super agents, Accelerate networks. I just want to wrap it up, but all of this is what it costs to build that. This is what it will allow you to allow you have POS terminals, manage funds, and all of the likes. Now, I intentionally left this part of things, right? Because I know that we are builders here, we're people who want to do things on our own. The regulatory sandbox, right? Because you're setting off your idea, you've not gone live yet, nobody's going to charge you. But I put non-doing testing. So it's when you want to, begin to accept money, accept funds, receive money from people that, at that time now comes and they need to make that payment. However, nonetheless, there's certain regulations that you have in check. You should try to be your KYC, NDPC compliant, and I'll share that pretty soon now. Right. These are the people who power the African fintech ecosystem and key players in Africa today, right? We have lots of them here, and I would speak briefly into what they do and why they're very, very important. See, I want you to know this and know this one thing is if you're going to be the fintech product, and as I largely shared here, know where you fall in. This should help you understand the regulators that govern the place that you play in, right? Help you understand the regulators that govern the industry that you play in, because if you don't get it right, they would come for you, they would find you, right? Because you can't just come into their markets and, try to woo people, try to do things and not follow the law. We must follow the regulatory, we must follow the compliance of the law and do things rightly, right? So, sorry, for the CBN, they are more tailored towards banking and payments and licensing, right? They oversee providers like the Switch, the mobile money operators, the microfinance bank. So if you hear the microfinance bank, and I'll give you a little bit of hints. Now, if you want to tell which regulator governs a particular industry, they're now a lot more foretelling. So if you open your banking app now, your UBA, your OPay, your PAMPay, you see it's written rather on the footer of the page, licensed and regulated by the Central Bank of Nigeria, right? They have asked every single institution that's been licensed to slap that on their homepage, slap that inside the app, so that people know that they are regulated and people can trust them. Even if the CBN does not even write to you to do it, as far as you've gotten the funding and as far as you've paid rightfully for that to operate in that market, like here, and you've paid your 2 billion, you should do that, because people want to have that feeling that you are regulated and you won't steal my money and run away, right? So that's where it comes in as well. The CBN governs mobile money operators. You govern Switch and Microfinance Bank. Now comes SEC. SEC is Securities and Exchange Commission, and this is, of course, governs capital markets. Or capital markets, your virtual assets, your crypto, your fund managers. So apps like Piggyvest, Carrywise, Investment by United Capital are regulated by SEC, right? The SEC, and that's one thing about regulators. They just come knocking one day, you don't know they're in front of you, and they're observing, they're watching you. I'll tell you a bit of a story here. And I've written about it on LinkedIn. No shade to any company, no shade to anyone, but I do believe that the Dangote IPO was will be one of the biggest and outbreaking stories about, funds raising in Africa and in the continent at large. Maybe, just maybe, it might be second or maybe 10th to what, Tesla IPO had done. Now, something had happened because of how big the Dangote IPO had gotten and how he had, people were trying to get private placements in the Dangote IPO. We had seen that specific companies went and announced that the Dangote IPO is coming, come and subscribe. And I'll tell you why they did that, right? Again, I wrote a post about it, you can check that out. For you to create, and I'm tying it back to as a customer, I have a different slide for operators as a customer, I'll come back to that. For you to operate as for you to issue securities, buy and selling of stocks, right? There's a body called the CSES, right? The CSES CHN. What they do, the CSES CHN is a BVN. Your CHN, your CSES rather, is your BVN for the stock exchange markets, right? What this means largely is that how your banking app identifies you by your BVN, stock trading and Nigerian Stock Exchange, the NGX, identifies you by your CSCS number, right, or your CHN number. They identify you by that. And I'm going somewhere with this, so please follow me. The reason why they have that in place is so that when you buy and sell stocks, you buy and sell equities, they can trace it to you, they can give it to you, you can withdraw the T+1 settlement that come into place. And I'm talking about the Dangote IPO now, so I'm coming somewhere as well, please. Now, fintech or companies largely had gone to put out a publication, that the Dangote IPO is coming, come and create your account. And rightfully so, they're actually correct. But there was something that they didn't do well, because you can't create a CSCS number immediately, right? Same way, you need to go to the bank first and go and generate and tell the teller, and they'll give you your BVN. The CSCS and CHN number takes around 2-4 hours for it to get generated for you. It's not that instantaneous thing. So what they wanted to do at the time was have you create your account for you, and once the IPO comes, you subscribe immediately. Public knowledge, IPO only lasts for like 3 weeks, right? That's initial. When I say IPO, I'm talking about initial public offering for a stock. So let's say you are here and you want to raise funds from the public, besides going on like debt financing and all that kind of financing as well. The Nigerian Stock Exchange, of course, you do your books, you do your regulatory stuff, and can go public. Flutterwave is on the line to becoming public, and you'll be able to buy Flutterwave's stocks on the Nigerian Stock Exchange. They announced that. We don't know where that is now. Hopefully sometime soon we'll be able to do that, right? And again, Flutterwave is valued at $3 billion. So you could know that largely that they actually something that's doing well. Of course, you do your PE ratio to check how they are performing, the current market price, the open and the highs. Of course, these are the very technical terms used in stock exchange, but I'm coming somewhere with this. Because of the doing of how the CSCS and CHN number is regulated, you can't just create it one time. You have to create it in advance and hold on. And because the IPO only lasts for 3 weeks and everybody's trying to subscribe into it, fintech companies have gone out to put out publications, even those who are not licensed by SEC. And I'll talk about something again. Maybe I should just keep that in here. You don't, because I want to be a, what do I call here now? Okay, I'll just keep it. There's something called riding on someone's license, right? Let's say I want to start a mobile wallet, right? I want to issue wallets to people. I want to issue virtual accounts. And I don't have, the funds, the hundreds of millions to create that for myself. I can ride on someone's license, right? So companies who are riding on existing license of other third parties, and that's why you have people like the Bamboo who use I can't remember the name of the finance house that Bamboo uses right now for their stock trading, right? Because they wanted to do that, and I'm not talking about Bamboo right now, I'm talking about a different entity, right? They had gone ahead to publish, come and buy the Dangote IPO on our app. It's coming, you can buy it right here. But Dangote had not even started filing for the IPO on the Nigerian Stock Exchange. He had not even approached SEC yet by the regulation that they have put out, right? That you can come and buy your stock now. And companies are already doing that. And in less than 2 weeks, SEC had come out and said every company who is doing that interesting thing of announcing, some even collected money from people of come and buy stocks and sell stock, come and buy the Dangote IPO, take it down, or at least you would fear losing your license and all of that, right? So these bodies stay intact to protect us. Now imagine a fraudulent app, right? Because they want to make money, they want to get money, they go and come and get the Dangote IPO. Some are even collecting money from people, right, in advance. IPO has not even started filing at all, already collecting money from people, right? That's fraudulent again. So that's why the regulators exist, to protect the consumers, to protect people from losing their money and losing their assets in between. Then we have the NDIC. The NDIC protects, is here for ensuring your deposits. And when you go to the bank, you protect the customers. If your bank fails, if an MFB fails, they protect you. Who recalls the whole story with Heritage Bank and how, you know, they are saying lending, there's something called there's a yardstick that converts that lets you know how much you can give and how much you can't give anymore. So they had overseeded how much they could give to customers, and they were now, you know, in debt. Right then, the CBN has to come in, of course, by protecting, you know, the lives of their customers. Through the NDIC, you know, they overtook the bank and help people to, you know, repay back their money and all of that in between. So these regulators are not here for the entities alone; they are here for the customers, because customers are naive. Customers just want to grow their money. Customers just want to make money. They don't know exactly what's happening, and they exist here. So the need that as well is here for Data Protection Act, and the SCPC is to exploit, you know, fraudulent lenders. There's this guy on TikTok who is doing I don't want to call the company's name, but I say I will not pay my loan. When you gave me 3,000, I don't have 5,000 now. I can't. You tell me to pay 25,000. I'm not paying shishi. Do you understand? So the FCCPC is there to protect digital lenders, but not that kind of guy, of course. Kind of people who maybe set extraordinary repayment schedules, interest rates. You take a loan of 1 million, and I tell you to pay back 75%. Like, are you joking? Should I go and rob a bank to pay you back? Right? That's why the regulators exist, to protect the customers, to protect, you know, the consumer, so they don't fall into praise like this. And then we have NIBS, the big boy here that I've talking about since, you know, Nigeria Interbank Settlement System. What they help is serve as the intermediary, right, between banks. What they do is, once, and I'll talk about that in the next screen here, of course. What they do is they help facilitate, you know, settlement and clearing of transfers within the ecosystem. When you make a transfer, the NIB sits in that fine line for that, right? So they run interbank switching through the NIP, and they operate in the open bank registry as well. Then we have interswitch here. I'm watching it up, please. I don't take much time. Who issue now the VEV cards that you have today, the quick teller as well. And Interswitch has so many products, can all attest to that, right? And then we have the other players here, you know, for payments, gateways, and processors. We have Paystack, we have Flutterwave. You know, these are people that help you process your payments, and all the time at the same time as well. Then we have digital payments and agency banking, right? These guys also are the OPay, the PAMPAs, and the Money Points alone. Money Point alone today has processed around 412 trillion. Yeah, 412 trillion in 2025. Matter of fact, right? In 2020, and I want to just give kudos to NIBS as much as possible. Everybody knows I love NIBS so much. In 2024, but when NIBS had come in, 25 million transactions have gone through NIBS, right? And now when Fintech, now that's in 2024, when Fintechs came in and tried to spread payments and, you know, banking the unbanked, we were seeing 1.07 quadrillion. That was the first time, I'll be honest with you, that I knew there's a word called quadrillion. Really, that was roughly around $712 billion. Yeah, my numbers might be sketchy, but I'm sure it was 700 something billion dollars that they had run through them, right? That fintechs had helped, you know, spread in payments. So you see how important that fintechs play right here at the same time all together. Then we have lending, fair money, rent money, Sycamore will help you and give you initial loans. You have savings, wealth investments, Piggyvest, Carrywise, Bamboo, RiseVest, United Capital, the fund managers that help you, and then cross-border remittance, you know, cheaper cash, all together as well, that help you transfer money out of the country. So as much as these players exist, right, as much as this infrastructure exists, they are all one way or the other being regulated by these guys, right? So the CBN, the SEC, the NDIC, the needs that the SCPC regulates them to ensure that customer funds are intact, to ensure that customers don't lose their money. Because if you do that, they would fine you, they would sue you, and they would find you. See, if DSS wants to work, they will catch you in this country. So yeah, so if you're going to be the next big thing, please be compliant so that you don't have your name on the news for unnecessary things. Now, the main call here, how does money move, right? Fintech is literally about transactions. You know, financial technology is the use of using technology to help finance move much better, right? How does fintech move? Again, sorry, one more vibe check. I'm so sorry. I've been talking since. I just want to know if people can hear me. Antonio, what's funny?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. Thank you. All right. All right, thank you. Thank you guys. Okay, I'm coming back to share my screen. I'm sorry, Ebose, how many minutes do I have left?
You have just about 10 minutes left.
Okay. Let's do this. Okay. All right, bet. So interesting. Okay. How does money move, right? And a lot of times people say things like, how is OPay so fast? How is PAMPay so fast? How is MoneyPoint so fast? Why is I don't want to call the traditional banks name because they're not wrong, to be honest. Why is my traditional bank not as fast as these fintechs? And I'm going to explain a number of things here. And that's why I put this last minute to help us with the terms I'm going to use around explaining how money moves in this ecosystem. For money to move first, there has to be a client-facing side. When I mean a client-facing side, I mean the front end, what you can see. So your mobile app, your USSD. By the way, I think USSD is really not, it's underutilized in this country, but we'll talk about that later. Anyway, there needs to be a client-facing side. So there is the mobile app, there's the web app, there is anything that has a UI, that has a design to it, of interaction is where money starts from, right? So your fintech apps build the front end for you to make that transfer. Now you've done your KYC, you've done your onboarding, you've verified yourself. Now you want to move money. So the first thing you would do is you go to transfer to bank, right? And I'm not talking about fintech, I'm talking about traditional banks. And I'll come to fintechs secondary. You open your GT Bank account. And your GT Bank account, what they would do really is you insert your 10,000 naira. Before that money moves to Ade, who is in Zenith Bank, there are quite a number of series of checks that needs to happen. First, you open your bank app, you put it. Now, there's something called the core banking application. The core banking application is the system that your bank has, right? That checks on the ledger. Okay, how much is sitting in Yemi's account? Does he have enough money to move out? Is there a lien on his account? What I mean by lien, is there a post-note debit? So post-note debits are, did he do something that a bank had to come and report him and said, oh, this guy defrauded somebody or is owing somebody else money, so that's why you can't process a transaction on this account and all of that. By the way, there's something called the Global Standing Order, GSI, which banks can use to recoup money from your bank account. Say you have money sitting in another bank, and okay, so say you took a loan with OPay and you went to PAMPay to collect that loan, OPay can file to the CBN and get a GSI, Global Standing Order, to go and recoup that money in your GT Bank. However, that introduction is still not fully up and running because it's a lot of science behind it. Anyway, once you initiate the 10,000 naira transfer, your bank checks that, okay, you're good to go. You have the funds to do this. There's no post-note debit on your account, and there's an uptime as well, and you can make the transfer. Next thing your bank does, and everything I'm saying here happens in milliseconds with APIs. APIs are application programming interface, right? What they do is they make the calls for you, right? So milliseconds again, your bank has verified and checked, okay, on the ledger system that you have money, you can make the funds, you can transfer right here. Now they route it to a switch. The switch here is needs. Recall I had mentioned that the banks came at the time and said, we can't make transfers to our people as swift as possible. People are coming in person to do clearing and settlements. What do we do about this? How do we resolve it? Right? Then they developed in the NIP, they need instant payments. Okay, so then they develop the NIP, the need instant payments. What the NIP does largely is for clearing, right? Clearing is the facilitation of moving funds from one bank to another bank, right? That money goes and sits with NIP, and then they inform your other bank through, say, webhook, and say, oh, Ade has tried to send money to Yemi on their GT Bank, please credit them, and then they go ahead to do that. So again, you open your app, milliseconds really, you authenticate, the bank checks that you're fine, and instantly you route it through the switch, here called NIP, and also moves it. Once they've confirmed all things are good and fine, it can go through. It goes here. Now, please note that there's no money movement here. These are just numbers, right? A background story is that, you know how fintechs keep money with the CBN when they want to acquire a license, the bank does the same, right? So it's called the float, right? The banks keep money with, the CBN to ensure that they can move money around and all of that stuff at the same time. When that happens, all that are just moving here are just numbers. It's just numbers. There's no actual transfer. Sorry, my accent kicked out. There's no actual transfer that's moving up and down. Just numbers, 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 numbers. And that's how transfers really happen, right? In summary, I could have broken it a lot more deeper, but just in summary, that's how transfers happen. For fintechs, it is different. Fintechs are, and that's for fintechs that operate wallets or operate with a microfinance bank. For you to talk to CBN, and CBN is the one that does the settlement to this. So, okay, let me explain. Again, once the money has moved from the sending bank and NIP has acknowledged it as clearing, and the receiving bank has accredited the customer you're trying to send the money to, at the end of the day, eventually something happens. NIP comes, of course, it's automated. There's no physical person doing this. NIP comes and says, okay, GT Bank, through your transfers today, you sent 10 million to UBA. UBA, you sent 6 million to GT Bank. That means two of you, 10 million minus 6. That means you're owing this one 4 million. Yes, go and send your 4 million. The CBN credits UBA the 4 million. That's what happens there. There's no money that's moving when you're sending. It's at the end of the day that it moves. And there are two settlement times that happens, 2 p.m. and 2 a.m. Right? So 2 p.m. is for the transfer that happened in the day, and 2 a.m. are the ones that happened for the previous day. Right? So again, when you're moving money, money is not actually moving. What the banks are just doing is storing it in their system, in the NIP server, and just saying, okay, you move 10 million, you move 10 million. Oh yeah, end of the day has come. Two of you, how much are you owing two of each other? Well, I'm owing you 10 million, I'm owing you 0 million. Oh yeah, take 10 million, I'm owing you, and go. And they keep it, with the customer accounts with the banks. That's how it works. But for fintechs, it's different. Fintechs cannot interact with CBN. It's part of the okay, I didn't add that here, but fintechs can't interact with CBN, right? What they do is they have something called a custodian account with every commercial bank. So think of it like this. OPay today, one of the reasons, and of course, the OPay's technology is fantastic, it's one to love, but the reason why at the bedrock of it, all your transfers can work, that you can send money from your OPay to a GTB bank account, is that OPay and all microfinance banks have a custodian account with all commercial banks, right? So what is happening on the ledger system is that when you transfer money from your OPay to your GT bank account, you're actually transferring from your OPay's GT bank account. OPay is transferring from their own GT bank account into the GT bank account of the other bank, right? And they're not doing it themselves. Like I said, OPay cannot talk to, sorry I'm using the name, please, but I just have to bring it home so everybody understands. OPay cannot directly talk to CBN, right? So what they have to do is, why they can't talk to CBN, it's just a regulatory thing. They have to follow a commercial bank to do that. And commercial banks are deposit money banks, right? Deposit money banks are the only banks that can talk to CBN. Your MFBs can't talk to CBN, right? PSBs can, right? But they prefer to go to PSB and payment service banks. That's your Momo and the likes. They can talk to them, but they prefer to actually just go through APIs and run the checks. So what happens when your OPay and your PanPay is sending money across is that they're just sending money from their custodian account that they've pre-funded. So pre-funding is you've kept money in this account, and you funded it enough so that when transfers and when settlement comes, you can settle the other customer much better, right? So again, for commercial banks, they just move the money across their systems and routing it through the switch, right? But for fintechs, they can't talk to CBN directly. They have to route it through through a third party, and the third parties are deposit money banks, DMBs, and that's when they run this and they have accounts in these commercial banks with them, and then they make the transfers directly to them. There's a notable mention to know here, and I just really want to talk about it real quick. Oftentimes you would see that say something like NIBS has a downtime. NIBS has a downtime. Why I can't make my money, I can't transfer. But then you go and open your money points and you can't transfer. How is that possible? Your money point is a switch, right? So you can act as an intermediary to to the NIP when it is a downtime and move your money across, right? So Switch is one of the sweetest licenses you can actually get. It covers a lot of things. It facilitates transactions. You settle and you process transactions at the same time, so you can move that around. Then there's the transaction record information, the ledger. The clearing is done by NIP. The NIP, that's when that happens at the end of the day, and say, okay, you move 10 million, you move 4 million, you take 6 million and go. That's clearing, just plus and minus. Settlement is the CBN. So NIP does not settle your bank at the end of the day, right? At settlement times, which I mentioned is 2 a.m. and 2 p.m. You don't settle your bank. So what happens here is that CBN themselves do the settlement, and the reconciliation will not be that, the treasury team in these banks will come and say, do we agree that true, NIP was correct, and then they settled us correctly. That's it. So switching is NIP or your switch license if you do have one, right? Settlement is CBN settling the plus and minus that two of you have been moving money across each other. Reconciliation is you confirm that the transactions are actually correct. Push and pull payments, pushes, transfers, pulls, pull are like cards, float are the money you keep across with your different banks and custodian accounts, and then webbook are the API calls that happens. Webbook are the ones that facilitates the movement and the communication between banks. It's not a human, it's not just a robot. Webbooks are the one facilitating that. So yeah, that's what happens when you try to move money around. And I'm bringing it back home to the other bit of things, which is the infrastructure behind. Oh my God, I need to rush. The infrastructure behind the interface that you see. So the infrastructure that ties across is, behind the moving money and behind the all that good stuff is identity verification, KYC, right? Fintech does not operate on its own. You need to work with third parties. You need to work with people. You have the Verify Me. You have the core who will help you and give you ability to do like things like CAC lookup, BVN lookup to check what this person who's trying to verify that BVN, are they really who they say they are? Open banking as well. Open banking hasn't come yet. It's going to come. And because of press of the time, I'll rush it. Open banking is the ability for different banks to talk to themselves. Currently, one of the very things that affects the financial technology ecosystem is there's not so much communication. That's why fraud exists. Really, people have tried to build solutions around this, but they've not hacked it entirely because of something called interoperability. What happens is banks are scared to, or fintechs are just scared to talk to each other, right? What happens again is, for fraud to happen, how about you have the system where somebody will try to gain a money point, could talk to an OPay, and then they resolve it and they can inform each other who this person was, right? That's what things like open banking would solve. Open banking would allow you go to a GT bank and ask for a facility like a loan, and they can, by your authorization, give them access to see your access bank accounts and all your bank accounts, and they can give them money knowing fully well that you have capable enough to do that. And that's what open banking is for. It was promised to come sometime last year, August 2025, but it didn't happen. But hopefully they had promised again that we'll see it this year, and we hope that happens as well. So open banking is the ability for different banks to talk to each other and try to, see how we can facilitate money movements, inform decisions like loans, investments much better than we do today. We have payment gateway, PSSPs, we have VSSD, we have the core banking I've mentioned, that is your in-house bank system where you use for confirming your transactions as well. Ledger systems, notification infrastructure is your push notification, your SMS, your cloud and data localization. This cloud as well is where your data is stored, right? We've seen the new CBN regulation saying that now that every fintech now has to have an on-prem service. Quite frankly, banks have to actually run this, right? Banks have on-prem services where they have physical data warehouses, but but not all of us quite frankly do that. So the CBN is saying we don't want you routing my transfers and making API calls to your data center in Europe or in US. Come and do it in Nigeria. Nigeria is booming, we're growing, so come and bring that here. Is it in Dangote refinery or we don't put data centers and all the likes? I don't know, but hopefully that happens soon. So now trying to wrap it up, regulation and compliance and fraud. So I'm going to rush it up real quick than I should do. This is the bedrock of every fintech product that exists today, right? This is the bedrock of it. We have the CBN. CBN governs banking and payments. The license says for commercial banks, microfinance banks, PSBs, they're the one that organize and facilitate them. SEC governs the capital market. They govern the Mary Stem, the United Capital. They ensure that you don't do silly things, and that's why we have things like capitalization I mentioned earlier on, where I said that they had mandated that at least you have 5 billion sitting in their position, so that in case anything happens, they can protect you and all the likes. NDIC ensures deposits, I mentioned that earlier, and NDPC as well ensures deposits. Then I'd slightly spoken about fraud, and how fraud has largely tied into the ecosystem today, right? With fraud, what we've seen is people are trying to game the system, and that's why things like the open banking and communicating between different banks could help solve that and pretty much reduce that. We see fraud cases through, of course, the most popular one in the fintech system today, referrals. One of the very few ways people try to game your system, but if you can do that, if you can, train the models much better, you would protect that. There's other one called social engineering, which I am most happy to talk about every time. A lot of times, one of the frauds that happen that people don't think, they think is from one Pakistani just typing and writing code. No, social engineering is the act of studying somebody. For influencers here in the market, you talk about everything that you do, you post everything, and that's completely fine. I also want to be an influencer, but there has to be a fine line that defines between what you post and what you do, because once fraudsters can suspect the patterns, look at you, maybe you have your Ray-Ban glasses, you are showing your banking app, and then you technically put your PIN. That's called social engineering, studying somebody enough to see patterns within them and using that to try to steal from them and do silly things like the likes, right? And to the last screen here is whole concept every fintech product builder should understand, which is trust is the product. Trust, trust, trust. Now we have moved largely away from banking systems. We've moved largely away from old legacy systems. If I don't trust you enough to know that you will take care of me, I won't use your system. That's why people trust OPay, right? People know that. I think one time, maybe I had the downtime, or correct me if I'm wrong, or maybe Money Point, one of them, I was beating my chest so bad. I was like, no, they don't have a downtime. That's how much trust they are giving, not to just me, even to the supermarket I was also buying from at the time. So you need to gain trust from your customers. And how do you gain trust? By being regulated. How do you gain trust? By doing your KYCs. How do you gain trust? By checking who comes into your system. How do you gain trust as well? By having fraud checks in between. Security, social securities in place. Things like confirm your mother's maiden name. All of those beautiful things that confirm trust are the things you have on board as well. Then we have designing for the failure case first. And this is one thing that I like to always talk about. Whenever you're building a feature, don't build from the front end, build from the back. If the feature fails today, what will happen is that in product terms, it's called the pre-mortem and the post-mortem, right? Future thinking, what could be the wrong thing that could kill our product, and build and reverse engineering, building that stuff so that when it comes, you are prepared for it, right? So build and design for the failure case first, right? Ensure that when transactions fail, what are you doing? Do you have money in a different market you set to your people? Do you have systems that you can verify, and all of the beautiful things as well? And you're building on wheels you don't control. I'd mentioned that fintech is a communication system. You don't just build an app and go out. Your KYC is not being done by you. It's done by a third party, right? Verify me ID, who are these players, or Doja, they could have a downtime, and that means if you have BVN slapped on your onboarding, nobody can onboard, right? That's why you have to do things like having more than one partner, right? I mean, these are free tips. Having more than one partners that you can switch to in case there's a downtime in your system, you move to the other one who is up and running so that people don't fail. So you're building on the wheels you don't control. So you have to be smart enough to understand, how do I try to control this largely so I don't, lose my business and I don't lose my customers. And regulation shields the roadmap, not just legal review. I always do this, and I always say it. Every time you're building a product, have your compliance guys in check. In United Capital today, before anything goes live, you sign off, right? And your compliance guys have to sign off. They have to be aware of what's coming. They have to protect the customer that's coming, because you can't just ship things and then compliance is not aware, and it's much better at telling them. And then there's a whole legal review and the whole legal content around that. Distribution channel matters the most. I'd mentioned that the mobile app is a front and your client-facing sites, how you get your customers. But the core of it are channels like USSD, and I said it's underutilized in Nigeria. And I understand. Funny enough, in 2017, they say people, when the banks are emerging, they're saying we're trying to bank the unbanked. We're trying to bank the unbanked. And you're trying to bank the unbanked with mobile app. People that are in Kaduna and Nasarawa don't have a mobile app. Channels like USSD help resolve that. And that's why I'm proud to mention and say that United Capital built the first USSD service for, capital markets in Nigeria and Africa at large, right? So distribution channels are better and one of the ways to think around it. Don't just be a mobile app. What if I use a Techno 154 and my app size is so small, that means I can't download your app? Then you need to have like a web application, like a web app I can sign in and do all of my good stuff. And the ecosystem is maturing from growth to governance, right? There's a lot of things to concern about. So I said all of that to say that understand, if you want to be one of the very first, builders in the ecosystem that will build well and build right, understand the system, solve real problems, and build what Africa needs. I hope that at the end of this session, you're able to understand how fintech works, how different systems communicate to each other, how you can solely build a product by your own. You need to talk to different parties, and how you can maintain relationships all across different people to ensure that you're building the right products and you're building the right thing. Thank you, and that is it from me.
Wow. Wow, that is a lot. Thank you, thank you, thank you. You guys with your emojis, just give a thank you to Saviour for that wonderful session. It was like we went back in time when it started, and it was, giving us the background, the history of fintech, of payments in Nigeria. It was like I went back in time, 2010 towards 2015, 2016, and now we're in 2026. It even took us down into the future a bit. So thank you so much for that session. I know that you guys have had a lot to learn so far. Yeah, we're open to questions now. If you have questions, you can you can raise your hand, you can drop it in the chat. While we're also asking questions, there's a Twitter post currently that Betty or Elizabeth would be dropping the link in the chat. So if you enjoyed this session, if you've enjoyed it so far, please, we need you to go on Twitter and share your comments, give a comment, tell Saviour thank you. Would be reading it, so you want to say nice things to him. So yes, now we're open to questions. We have Ahmed. Ahmed, please go ahead and ask your question.
Yeah, good day. Hi, Saviour. Thank you very much for the presentation. I wanted to ask about the infrastructure for international transfers. I don't know if there was anything in your slide about that that manages international transfers. So basically, maybe just within Africa. So maybe like Ghana, Nigeria, and Ghana, and Nigeria to Ghana, then Ghana to Nigeria, something like that. Yeah.
Sorry, please, I was planning. I was muted. Yeah, so that was somewhat intentional. I was trying to, like I said, I was trying to rub up the slides as much as possible. But for if you're trying, are you asking if you want to build, or what facilitates them?
Yeah, to build and maybe the necessary infrastructure that could facilitate, and maybe licenses required.
Of course. So for that, you need to have an IMTO license. International money operator can check them out. You need to have an IMTO license. You need to ensure that you can move money across borders. So it's cross remittance and cross-border payments. You can read more about that. But first off, you need an IMTO license to operate, to move money across different markets inside the country you operate in. There are particular apps I think you can look at. Timon. Timon is building something good here. You can also look at our chip in Elizabeth here. Quidax, Busha as well, who use crypto to facilitate payments across different facilities across the continent as well. So you can look at them together. But nonetheless, first off, to get your license right, you need IMCO license to operate and move money across borders. And then you can think around using crypto, or you can think around using any other means that you want around. But first, please do get your IMCO license. Hope that helps, Ahmed. Ahmad. Ahmad Ahmed.
Ahmad.
Okay, I got that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for your response. We have other questions, but before I move to them, there was someone dropped a question in the chat while the session was ongoing. So I'll just read the person's question first before we move to others. The question here is, I've seen how far the SCCPC goes to protect customers, but who protects the company? What about customers who voluntarily take loans without planning to repay? So that's the question. Who protects the company? We have customer protection, but who protects the company?
Who protects the company? Long story cut short, company protects themselves, right? You can't because you're trying to give out loans, and that's sometimes when I see loan sharks do things, I just laugh. I'm like, why are you giving money? And that's why they begin to harass you and going into your contact and seeing people who you have contacts and send them death threats about them and all of that. Nonetheless, but how do the companies protect themselves? They protect themselves by themselves. So there's something called in lending, something called the DTI ratio. That's the debt to income ratio. Before I can give you a loan, I need to first ascertain that of course, I need to look at your bank statement first, right? And of course, you won't give me your bank statement. I will request your bank statement from your bank myself so that I don't go and force one, right? So that's one of the ways to protecting yourself. Don't be smart enough to say, oh, I trust my customers, let them come. No, you get it from the bank themselves first. 1, 2, you'd run a DTI. So the DTI is called the debt to income ratio, right? What that does is it helps you ascertain, okay, this person makes an income of 4 million. And they want to get a facility, on a facility in this time, I mean loan. They want to get a loan of, say, 2 million. Now, their living expense, that's their income. They make an income of 4 million, they make a loan of 2 million. On that 2 million they would make monthly expenses of car financing, maybe their car, running their car and fuel, house upkeep, yada, yada, yada. By the time everything is done, you're left with, and maybe they're a family man. These are the things you have to run and ask them. KYC is important, know your customer. By the time you do all of that, you realize that this person, his mother, is financing mother, taking care of the children, has 4 children. His take-home salary is 300,000 naira. From the 4 million he's taking, maybe he lives in an expensive place that he shouldn't be in. When you do all of that checks, you then realize and know that I can't give this person a loan of 2 million because they won't pay back, right? However, because they have a remaining income of 600,000 naira, what I can do is I can give them a loan of, say, 1.5 million. Because I can now ascertain how much I know that they will willingly pay. So again, back to your questions, how do lending companies protect themselves? They protect themselves by themselves. They build infrastructures that help them protect themselves, playing the debt to income ratio. There's a term I'm trying to remember, but it's not coming. I've been trying. That term, what it does really is it lets you know your loan threshold, right? It's given by the CBN. So once you hit it, once you're close to it, it's like a green mark. Once you're close to it, you're going to give a loan. Once you're slightly above it, I think 8.5 ratio, you can begin to give that loan. You have very much caution, so you're giving back loans because you're not repaying and stuff. When I remember, I would probably send it to Elizabeth and Abosede to share. But again, you protect yourself, to be honest. Building systems that will help you protect yourself. Thank you.
That's such a deep one. Companies protect themselves. Wow. Nobody's coming to save you. You save yourself. Okay, we'll move on to the next on the line. We have Victor Olaito. Victor, you can go ahead and ask your question.
Hi, good morning, everyone. Hi, Saviour. Fantastic presentation. Thank you for all of the insights. So my question is, I work in the compliance space with Verify Africa, and obviously you did a good job of outlining, the entire fintech ecosystem and, the role that compliance and trust, most importantly, plays in, the continued growth of, fintech companies. I want to ask you, for a compliance tool, for example, what do you think, especially going forward, what do you think would be the best features that would help them, with the innovation, with the current landscape? What features do you think would be best for compliance tools, for compliance infrastructure to have, to be able to better, enhance trust for fintech companies? Because at the end of the day, we're partners, right? So how best, what do you think we can implement to better, enhance trust for fintech companies?
Yeah, funny enough, I love compliance. It's weird. Like me and my compliance guy, Musa, yeah, just he seniors me well, but we're so close. Anyway, what are the very few things that I think compliance teams should be building? Not a lot of KYC and KYB companies run something called the PEP and sanction screening. So PEP is like politically exposed person. If you play in the capital market, it's one of the very few things you'll be asked to run, so that you ensure that if maybe you're bringing like Amado Bello into your system, sorry, I talk fast. If you're bringing like Amado Bello into your system, you want to know, is it politically exposed? One of the very few things you can put in place. So PEP screening, sanction lists. Police has one police has one database. I don't know, man, if that thing is really up and running. Do I know like it's physical, but if they can automate that thing, it would help. But I think the fundamental one, and I'll be honest with you, Victor, is fraud checks, like fraud checks. I would send you the name of a company. They are new. I will look for your link and I'll send it to you, right? What they do is they help do background checks on people. So let's say before I'm trying to enter your system, they alert you and tell you things like, oh, Adeyemi or Shola. Sorry if Adeyemi and Shola here. I'm just name that came to mind first. Adeyemi and Shola was fraudulent in XYZ bank. You know, they're coming to your system now. What they do is they block them before they even enter your system. They won't even enter, they will just stop them from the beginning. Of course, there's been concern around this. A lot of companies have not really embraced this because, first of all, I'll tell you the truth, it's not a local company. And it's because of our builders here, and I'll tell you what's happening. It's not a local company, it's a global company, and there's a concern about data. Data as a service. Maybe what if they go sell this data to other companies? They're looking through my entire database and they're telling people who my customers are and sharing it across different people. So if you can get the trust of companies to know that, oh, your data is safe, not being shared anywhere. All I'm just doing is just confirm that this person is coming to you or fraudulent elsewhere. And so I'm protecting you by saying, please don't let him in. He's a bad person. This BVN is fraudulent. Then you help. So it's circling it back again, PEP screening, sanction screening, and fraud checks. Well, this person fraudulent in another bank and somewhere, and protecting yourself. Man, people would pay for you for real. They would pay good money because people, I think, when I was preparing the report, I'd seen that in 2025 alone, Fintech had lost about 221 billion to fraud just last year. You're now paying for that is banks and fintechs. It's painful. Money you worked out for. So yeah.
Thank you so much. No, thanks so much. I look forward to that. I'll engage you. We'll chat up later
I'll send
on.
it. Yeah.
All right.
Thanks.
All right, thank you. So we have, I'm not going to take two more people because they've raised their hands since we're really far beyond time. I'm going to take Ruben and Alfred. I'm sorry, Peter, I would not be able to take your question, but you can join the community and ask your question. Saviour will be there to, answer your question. So sorry about that. So Ruben, you can go ahead. Please let's make it like very short. Thank you.
Okay. Good afternoon, Saviour. Good afternoon, everyone. So my question is it's concerning the localized infrastructure that they just implemented, that it's going to start working, I think 2027. So what do you think about it, and what's the future of Nigeria infrastructure concerning that particular stuff?
Sorry, I'm laughing. Oh, what I think about it? Oh, well, I don't think it's about it. I'll be honest. Not like I don't think anything about it. I do think that because when it comes to CBN and regulation, as much as you can chip in, if you're not part of the big boys, and this is understood, if you're not part of the big boys, who can walk up to them and have a council meeting with them, because there are backdoor conversations that happen around fintech. Don't be surprised if you would come one day and realize that the CBN would delay this from happening because the big boys, and I don't want to mention the big boys' name here, but like the big boys have had a backdoor conversation and had a closed door conversation with these people. But the adverse side I see to it that's going to happen is there's going to be significant downtime in the ecosystem. Significant downtime, significant. Your transfers will be affected, your mobile money operations will be affected. A lot of things are going to largely happen, but of course, time and chance will pick up. But personally, I'll tell you for free, I have a strong sense that there are backdoor conversations happening. And I say this because for you to operate in this market, you need to be in close ties with the government. Inyaboyeji made a podcast on their political podcast, and they said there are 3 ways to make money: sell something so expensive, sell to maybe 1 or 2 persons, sell something so cheap to so many people, and let the government refer you. Who knows? Maybe it was one person who worked with the government and wants to make money from this, right? And that's why the government is making the chance, and now the government is into the product. But I'm sure if that did not happen, if there's nobody involved calling the shot for the localization of data centers to make money and the government in turn making money, then let's see that for free there'll be backdoor conversations that maybe cool it down. But no promises. It's just something that I've observed over time, and I know specific people who do these things and have backdoor conversations. I hope that helps, please. But again, downtimes and all that would happen if it does go through. We hope it doesn't. All right.
All right, thank you. Emmanuel, you can now go ahead with your question.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, Saviour. Thank you for your presentation. It was really insightful. Okay, so my question basically is, you mentioned the regulatory sandbox, and that is like something I've been looking into for a while, but whenever you go to CBN's page, there isn't like enough information on it, if any. So I wanted to ask, in case you have an answer, how does someone actually get into the regulatory sandbox if you are still in your testing phase? Simple answer, you go through somebody. All right, so you go through somebody, somebody who is, backed by the CBN. I'd mentioned that MFBs can't go to the CBN, right? We can't talk directly to CBN for switching, right? So they go through DMBs, the deposit money banks, and that's commercial banks to facilitate switching and moving of money, right? So that's the same thing you have to do. You have to go to somebody who has, linking with the CBN. However, what is, maybe let's talk on, maybe you can ask a question on chat on Slack channel and I can pick it up. I would let them not say too much here, but let's pick up a conversation outside. Yeah.
Thank
All right, thank you. We've come to the end of questions. I'm sorry I'm unable to, take your questions. We've spent a lot of time here, and that's because Saviour has been sharing a lot of insights so far. And it looks as if we're not going to leave here, because if we continue, well, really, thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate your time here today. We're so grateful. And we look forward to, having more of you. If you have questions, again, you can share that on Slack. We have a Ask channel where you can just drop all your questions and then you'll be there to answer. Or there are other people in the community as well that will be there to answer all your questions. Like I mentioned at the start, we have fintech professionals, people who are in different fields who are ready and available to answer your questions. So thank you so much, Saviour. Thank you. Let's just give him, with our emojis, let's just give him, a clap, a shout. Thank you so much. And now I will be yielding the floor to our partner for today's masterclass. Our partner is Trefford, and they will be, taking the floor to just tell us about their upcoming Fintech product management master course coming up. Are you here for us? Is the Trefford team here?
Yeah, hi, Obosidi.
Hi, you have the floor, Doctor. Please go ahead.
Thank you very much. And thank you, everyone, again. Thank you, Saviour, also. It was a very amazing session. I'm not a professional in fintech like everybody here is, but I feel like after this session, I can stand toe to toe with at least a newbie like myself. And it's really been amazing so far. So yeah, like Abosede mentioned, we are program partners with the Builders Fintech community, just to give people more insights, right? If you're looking to build up your experience in the fintech ecosystem, and you need the place that you are able to get the academic version of things. The most knowledge that you get, it comes from experience, right? But if you're also interested in getting the academic part of it, because there are some structured systems that you can't even get through doing, you need to get it by constant learning and continuous learning. So I'm just going to do a bit of presentation, and everything I'll be saying is going to be tied to this class that happened. That's how encompassing it's been as a whole. And I'm really glad to be a part of it. So yeah, I'm just going to share my screen in a moment. Can you see my screen, please? All right, thank you. So the program, right, or the course that's been tied to this directly is the FinTech Product Management course, right? And if you go to live.trefford.africa, you'd be able to see the full brochure, the curriculum, and what's the breakdown of the program is like. It says we are helping you build the future of finance, right? And just like the BIF community, you guys are literally builders working in the fintech ecosystem. So a lot of people come into fintech, right? Just because, at least from my own perspective, I know it's one of the highest paying rules when it comes to tech, right? Working in fintech, you get a lot of bucks and all of that, but the pressure is also very intense and massive, which is why you need to ensure that you are working at the highest level for you to be able to like get the appropriate promotions and position yourself for everything that needs to be done. This curriculum was built, switching my tab. So this curriculum was built with the insights of many professionals like yourselves, right? Directly asking people what they need to learn, what they wish they knew when they were getting into fintech or presently in your role as a compliance officer, as someone in lending, as someone in cross-border payments, right? You want to know as much as possible across different segments of fintech, or you're a founder, right? And you are looking to just like build up your expertise all around across board. That is what the program is designed to give you. That's the knowledge the program is designed to give you. We work with committees like BIF, professionals, individual professionals, and also organizations, right? Organizations need to know that the talent that's coming in, it's not just that you say you can do this thing. Do you actually have the evidence? Do you have the certification that comes with it? How are you able to prove that you can actually do all of this stuff that you've discussed? So like I mentioned, I'm just going to run through the curriculum so that you see how it ties into every aspect of fintech, just like Saviour has shown us. Think compliance, KYB, KYC, what are the things you need to set up to increase your customer trust and identify fraud? I think one of the last questions that was asked, it's dealt on that, like it's dealt with that. And NIBBS, NIP, cards, licensing, regulatory strategies, wallets, and stored value systems, right? So just every area of fintech, as whether you're in marketing, whether you're on the product end of things, whether you are looking to build from scratch, right? Everything that you need to understand around fintech program, that is what around the fintech products as a whole, that is what the program is designed to give you. A guide to fraud and risk control, disputes, customer trust, how to identify fraud, how to ensure that your infrastructures that you're setting up for cross-border payments, everything is up to par, and you are not, you don't end up shooting yourself in the foot. Just like Saviour mentioned again, there are lots of bodies and regulatory agencies out there to protect the user, but who protects you as the builder, who protects you as a member of a fintech organization once the walls come crashing down? You are not building on rails that you own, you are building on the rails of others. So what are the exact dependencies that you need to understand, that you need to identify across board? These are the things that the program is designed to give to you. And like I mentioned, it was built with you in mind. So the sessions happen on the weekends to ensure that it does not clash with any of our 9 to 5 duties and what you normally do on your day-to-day. So think of all those questions that you've been dealing with for the longest time, that you've just been trying to improve on, okay, how do I solve this particular blocker? How do I upskill for this particular rule that I'm targeting? That is what the program is aiming to give. Yeah, go to live.treford.africa. I think about said they will drop the link in the chat box and also on the Slack and community channel. We've already partnered up, so I'm sure you've already seen the invites to the program multiple times even, right? But what I was going to say is that it's not just for newbies just starting out, right? Like I trust everybody here is we're all seasoned professionals in the fintech space, and the idea is just to help you get an edge, right? You already know enough about one part of fintech. You are looking to become more, you are looking to get more insights, or you're just looking to target a bigger role. That is what the program is designed to cover. It runs for 8 weeks, happens on the weekends. Then there's also going to be a capstone project where you work on actual real life scenarios that allow you to simulate what's happening in an organization of your choice, right? Work on projects like, not to mention anybody, but like simulated projects like Paystack, Flutterwave, and just different rules in the fintech ecosystem where you get to actualize the things that you've actually learned. And we are partnered with the BIF community. So there's also a special discount available for everyone that's coming in through this program or through the BIF community as well. Just go to the registration page, right? Again, once you register on the coupon code segment, just input the code BIF and you'll be able to get a 10% discount available on payments. So we are Treford, right? I don't know how familiar some of us are with Treford, but what we do is we try to help people become the best version of themselves. And that's basically what our whole role is about. So if you are really interested in just trying to get better at your role and just like identify those specific gaps that you feel would be a major blocker for you in the future, now would really be a good time to convert. So yeah, thank you, Abosede. You can reach out to the organizers. You can reach out to us directly if you have any questions regarding any aspect of the program or what it feels like, what the setup is going to be like, and all of that. But yeah, thank you, Abosede. Elizabeth, I want to assume the question is for me.
Yeah. It's not a question. I just want to like corroborate what you've said. Hi,
Right.
everybody. Elizabeth. So I know that Treford also has a sort of like let's say partnership that allows for some sort of payment plans. So I just want to also say that if money is the reason why you would not register, Treford also has a plan that would, allow you, pay. And I don't know what
It's payment.
yeah, so like you might want to drop a link or something to help people learn more about that.
All right. Yeah, thank you. So, yes, you are able to upskill first while worrying about the payment later. We all know how important filling your skill gap is and all of that, but at the same time, we live in Nigeria and the economy isn't altogether too friendly to the extent that we have loose cash around that you just want to commit to learning. So if you are really interested in joining the session and you just you don't have the full financial commitment available here, you can still register. There's a portion on the registration page where it indicates you want to pay with Lance Credit. So we have a partnership with Lance Credit that allows you to register first, right? Go ahead with your learning and then complete the program fees much later. So it doesn't have to be upfront. You don't have to worry about getting the full fees, right? The partnership with Lance Credits allows you to get into the program ahead of time while the payment first comes later. You definitely still be paying. Yeah. I'm sure everybody knows that, but it won't have to be upfront.
Yeah, that's a good one. Thank you so much to the Treford
Thank
team.
you.
So guys, you've heard though, if you're interested in like taking further your knowledge in fintech on the product side, the links have been dropped. So yeah, the ball is in your court. Over to you, Abosede.
I mean, the course is really packed. I'm tempted to go and use a discount code and do a refresher. So you guys should take advantage of the discount code. Discount code is BIF. So you'll get some percentage by using the discount code. Yeah, so thank you so much, Treford team, for sharing that. Yeah, so we are nearing the end of today's session. Thank you so much for staying since the beginning until now. Just before we round up, I just want to, bring our attention to how you can join the community. Elizabeth has dropped the link in the chat. So if you want to continue this conversation, if you need to ask more questions, you should be a part of the community. There's a link. You would need to fill the form, and then we'll bring you in. So it's not that we don't want to make it open. It's just because we need to make sure that we're bringing the right people in the community, and that's why we have an application where you just, well, not like an application, but we just want people to fill the form, and then we vet to see that there's an alignment with the goals and visions of the community. So yeah, be a part of us. We'll be happy to have you. Also, this session is going to be uploaded on YouTube. So the link has also been dropped in the chat. We're also going to share the slide with you when we send the thank you message to you. So there's that. Register, subscribe to our YouTube channel, click on the link and subscribe. There are other videos there of past sessions. So anything that you need to learn, we've probably touched on them during some of the master classes that we've had in the past. So subscribe and learn, watch the videos. We also have other initiatives, right, in the community. We have the African Fintech Library. It's an open source, where you can see things that you want to learn about fintech. We have that there. It's on our website. We also have Fintech Radar for companies, for new startups. If you're a startup, you're building in fintech, and you want us to spotlight your startup, please you can feel on our website and like you the community. Just join us. You would have access to all of this. Thank you so much for joining us today. We're really glad to have you. We hope to see you again at the next masterclass. We also have other programs in the community. It's not just masterclass, right? We have other programs. Next week, very soon this month, we're going to be having our Ask Me Anything session told on Slack. So again, this is why you should be a part of the community, and we're bringing in a very, very interesting topic to you. So stay tuned and look forward to that. So yes, thank you so much for joining today. It's been a pleasure hosting this session. And thank you again to our speaker. Thank you to all of you, our partner, Trevor. Thank you so much. I hope to see you at the next one. Do enjoy your day.
Bye, everyone.